Taking you to the international hemisphere now, as the Russia-Ukraine war is all set to complete 1 year, US President Joe Biden asserted in Poland that Ukraine stands free. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin slammed west for the escalation of Ukraine war. Putin's address came a day after Biden's unannounced visit to Kyiv. While calling out Western elites, Putin suspended nuclear arms treaty between Russia and US and warned US that Russia will conduct nuclear tests if they have to. Now, he also claimed that Ukraine held talks with the West on weapon supplies and attempted to acquire nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, China's top diplomat Wang Yi is in Moscow and will meet Russian Foreign Minister today.
1 year ago, the world was bracing for the fall of Kyiv. Well, I just come from a visit to Kyiv, and I can report Kyiv stands strong. Kyiv stands proud, it stands tall, and most important, it stands free. When Russia invaded, it wasn't just Ukraine being tested. The whole world faced a test for the ages. Europe was being tested. America was being tested. NATO was being tested. All democracies are being tested. And the questions we faced were as simple as they were profound. Would we respond? Or would we look the other way? Would we be strong? Or would we be weak? Would we, all of our allies, would be united or divided? 1 year later, we know the answer. We did respond. We would be strong. We would be united. And the world would not look the other way.
В этой ситуации Министерство обороны России и Росатом должны обеспечить готовность к испытанию российского ядерного оружия. Первыми мы, разумеется, этого делать не будем. Но если США проведут испытания, то и мы проведем. Ни у кого не должно быть опасных иллюзий, что глобальный стратегический паритет может быть разрушен.
So much of Kharkiv has been destroyed. The destruction sits all around us, street after street, business after business. The city has been hit harder than any other city in Ukraine for the reason of its location. It simply is within a range of Russian artillery. As close to the border as it is, Russians don't just need to throw long-range missiles to damage this city. But we know all this. What's new? What's new is that people are beginning to rebuild their life in this city, rebuild business and win back the lifestyles that they've lost. They're determined not to let Russian missiles damage the spirit of their city, damage their lives any more than they have already.
Now, CNN News 18's Marish Shakil spoke to a group of panelists over Putin defending Ukraine's war. You take a look.
Dr. Sergey, it's a direct threat. And Vladimir Putin here hasn't really camouflaged the way he looks at this war and the role of the West. So, is the world now prepared for what will be an evident escalation of this war?
First of all, we can see that escalation, it's not coming from Russian side. During the visit of Joe Biden yesterday to Poland, we can see that the American leader start with the words that he will increase financial support and weapon support of Ukraine. And he didn't say anything about peacemaking dialogue. Before election, we can see that he was very cruel. He was very closed heart because he didn't mention about any particular possibility to put both sides to the table of conversation, of negotiate peace. We can see that Russia never was in some aggressive way. Our reason to only security of our own nation. That is a main reason of a special operation in Ukraine.
But Dr. Sergey, here is Vladimir Putin who says that Russia has been a patient negotiator, but if anything, US and the world is seeing Russia as an aggressor.
Yes, that is a blind vision of Western politicians. because we can understand right now that during all the history, we have a lot of challengers. It's a not quite new situation for us. Who was a main, we can say, winner, and which country did a lot contribution during Second War to defeat Hitler, to defeat this fascism. Of course, it was Russia.
Okay.
Everybody knows.
Alona,
everybody knows.
The entire world
Napoli
was watching this State of the Nation address because it was coming just ahead of the first anniversary of Moscow's offensive in Ukraine. But this point that has been made by Vladimir Putin, in which he says they want to inflict a strategic defeat on us and try to get to our nuclear facilities at the same time. He is saying clearly that the West is hypocritical, and if anything, he has not started the war. The war was started from the other side. How is this being viewed by Kyiv?
Well, it is not the question how it is being viewed by Kyiv. It is the question of black and white, of the reality, because I am a Ukrainian. I live in Kyiv. I was in Kyiv when the war started. I've heard bombs on top of my apartments. I was under the bombs. I've seen, people be raped and killed during this year. Everyone in the world and the General Assembly of the UN and all of the other international organizations said a year ago and during this year that Putin should stop his aggression, that he should take the sovereignty of Ukraine seriously, that he should abide by international law. He did not. He is leading, a wannabe empire neo-colonial war. Hopefully it is the last neo-colonial war, but he wants Ukraine to be the colony, and not just Ukraine, but a lot of countries that broke and became independent after the Soviet Union. Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, Belarus. He thinks that we are a colony and he is an empire. And the colonial policy and the empire policy should have been left in the 19th century. We should have never come to that. But Putin wants to turn the time backwards, and he does that. He lies. He makes the propaganda. And obviously, because he's doing an aggressive war, because he's killing civilians, because he killed women and children in Ukraine and continue to do so even today in Kherson, he is bombing the Kherson. Obviously, he needs propaganda machine to work inside of Russia. But I think everybody in the world, including the global south, including India, know very well what he is doing. Yes. And that's why overwhelmingly the world is voting in the UN Assembly and in other organizations for this war to stop.
Also of information. And what here is Vladimir Putin, of course, speaking to his audience, the domestic audience. Yeah. He says Ukraine and Donbass have become a symbol of total lies.
For me, the Today address shows that he is losing, actually, and he knows that he is losing. That's why he needs a propaganda machine. The only resort he ever had 6 months ago, 3 months ago, and the only resort he has now is the threat of nuclear.